Hello and welcome to TEC Bike Parts. Today we're going to be talking about tuners on the new Royal Enfield Euro 5 bikes and the Euro 4s as well. We've pretty well covered in the past what we normally used to fit on these bikes was the booster plug, and it worked really well, especially if you had something like an aftermarket exhaust or air filter on. Even this bike here, we've got a camshaft in as well, and it worked really well on it. But with Euro 5 coming out, which we talked about last year when it came out, we didn't think there would be any tuners available on the market because the temperature modification that the booster plug uses on the open circuit has been pretty well blocked by the systems on the Euro 5. They've also blocked the way you would normally modify the signal from the O2 sensor on say like an O2 emulator. What it needs now on the O2 sensor is a constantly changing signal. That's what the ECU is looking for. Once the engine's warmed up, if once the engine's up to temperature, if it doesn't see that the O2 sensor is constantly changing, like you would get from a normal O2 sensor output, again it puts the fault light on and goes into limp mode. Now, Powertronics have actually looked at this and obviously come up with an answer to it. And actually, I was quite surprised how well it works. Now, they came out a few months ago, and Powertronics asked us to look at them, and I said, well, we ordered up a few different types because we wanted to check them on a few different bikes and models ourselves, because we don't like endorsing products that we haven't tried ourselves, especially stuff like this when it comes to tuning, because it's it's our reputation on the line where they're running them on customers' bikes. It's all well Powertronics in, yes, it'll be okay, but we wanted to make sure how they work. We were also very curious to find out what it did and how it worked, because Powertronics were being quite vague about it, which a lot of tuning companies are, because they don't want their ideas being copied. So we put it on a bike and we ran it up and we analysed the output that was coming out of it, and we sort of understand how they've done it. What happens is you've got a signal plug on your plugs into your O2 sensor. You've actually got a positive and negative supply there all the time for the heater circuit in the O2, because it's got to be heated up to a certain temperature for it to work properly. Then the exhaust gases take over and it warms up. But that heater circuit's live all the time. So in the past, people have used that circuit to modify the signal to go back into the ECU. But Powertronics have cleverly used that to power the electronics in the unit. So you unplug the lead to the O2 sensor and plug it into the unit, it powers up the unit, and also gets this, can modify the signal back on that cable. It also plugs in to the actual O2 sensor on the bike, and it reads the reading off that. Now, on the basic version, it will just modify the signal to a predetermined amount, but I'll describe how it works with the Pro, and it gives you an easier idea how it works. So you've got various different settings on the Pro. The lowest two settings actually make it run leaner. The third setting doesn't do anything, it just leaves the signal as it comes out of the O2 sensor. And then from 3 to 10, 7 settings, it gets progressively richer. And how does it do that, you might ask? Well, what it does is it takes the signal that's coming out and it inserts a lean signal into the data going in. So say you're on the first rich setting, it'll insert maybe 10-15% of the time. It'll give you the correct signal that's coming off the O2 sensor, but it'll insert 15% of the time a lean signal. Now, on a narrowband O2 sensor, it only reads rich or lean, basically. It's like a tipping point. Once it's a predetermined voltage, which is at the optimum oxygen fuels reading. Below that, it gives a low voltage, and above that, it gives a high voltage. So what it's doing is inserting low voltages into the actual reading to tell the ECU to give a richer mixture, to richen it up a bit. Now, it doesn't know how rich it is and it doesn't know how lean it is, it just knows if it's rich or lean. Wideband sensors are a completely different thing, and they will let the computer know if it's running just a little bit lean, a lot rich, you know. But that modern motorcycles and modern cars don't tend to have wideband sensors on. They have narrowband sensors, and like I say, it knows if it's lean or rich. That's all it's doing, and it's doing that thousands of times a second. So once you go up the band, it'll insert more time of lean in. So say you're on maximum richness, maybe 50-60% of the time it's given this lean signal. Now you will say, well, does that not make the bike run too rich? Yes, it'll run richer than what it runs in its normal setting, just reading the O2 readings. But because there's a predetermined map on an ECU, I'm trying to find an analogy to understand this to make it simple. It just won't let it go any richer than that. Even if you told it all the time that it was running lean, it will only run up to a point where it won't. If it depends on how it's been mapped from the factory, but it'll only run up to a point where the map will let it go. It won't go to a point where it's starting to foul the engine up or anything like that. In the past, where people have put O2 emulators on, where it read lean all the time, it just ran right up to the map, rich all the time. It wasn't going backwards and forwards and reading a proper reading. The problem with that is it impacted your fuel economy because it wasn't running right. It affected the emissions quite badly as well. And I never was a school of thought that ran those on a road bike. Maybe it's on a race bike with a different map or whatever on, you would run them. But generally I would not run them on a road bike because they were problematic. We saw lots of issues, bikes that wouldn't run properly, and the first thing we did was unplug those, and normally that cured the problem straight away. So they're a different kettle of fish, and they're quite a cheap thing just to plug in. The Fuel X is a completely different thing. It actually works on electronics to try and control it. Like I said, we haven't actually we haven't gone into one to analyse what it is, but from the readings that we get, we're pretty happy that in the knowledge that the signal we're getting out of it, it's a modified lean pulse, that it's a low voltage pulse that it's given the ECU, and that seems to be, because it's constantly changing, the ECU seems to be happy enough with it. Now, for some reason, I haven't brought one. Like I say, I haven't brought one out on the Euro 5, and maybe the anti-tamper on the Euro 5 is a bit more sophisticated, and they're still probably trying to work on it. So, but like I say, they haven't come back to me on that one yet. So, it'll be interesting to see if they do get one out, because it will be very popular, I would imagine. Okay, so we'll move on and unbox the unit. Today we're going to be fitting a FuelX Pro. Now, the fitting of the FuelX Pro and the FuelX Lite are basically the same. The only difference is you've got an extra connector on the Pro and a handlebar switch that allows you to change between the maps. You can go in position 3. The map is basically set as standard, so the FuelX will do nothing. So it allows you to feel what the bike would be like without the FuelX fitted. It actually gives you 10 maps. Like I say, number 3 is nothing, it doesn't do anything. Number 1 and 2 are leaner than standard, and number 4 to 7 are progressively richer. So you can change these maps on the fly. It's got a little LED on it, and it tells you it flashes the number of times to signify the map it's on, and then gives a long flash to say that it's locked in. Really, really simple to use on the fly as you're riding. And it does let you see what the system does when it's switched on and switched off, and then you can really make your own mind up how you feel it's working or not. Really nice little feature of the Pro. The Lite is considerably cheaper because it doesn't have the switch and that bit of wiring, and if you're not the sort of person that wants to be fiddling about, it's pretty much optimised to enhance the fuel system on the bike. It'll work really well if you've put just an air filter and a silencer on or something like that. And it'll prevent the bike running lean. It'll also make it run much cooler as well. So we'll unbox it now and show you what you get in the kit. Now, this is the kit for the Meteor 350. Euro 5 model. So you got a little generic instruction booklet, basically showing what you get in the kit and how it goes into the wire, and showing you the range of maps on here. Like I say, 1 and 2 are leaner, number 3 is stock, and then 4 to 10 are richer progressively. Now what you do have on here is a little QR code. Now I'll show you a bit more about that later on. I'll just unbox the kit first to show you what's in here. So this is your wiring and your plug-in switch. Now this is the part that you won't get on the light version. And like I say, if you're not into fiddling about, basically just buy the light version. It's much simpler to fit because you don't have to fit this to the handlebars. And it's set to an optimum setting for your bike. But if you're the sort of person who wants to fiddle on, try it on and off, this is great. So you've got our main control unit. And we have 2 plugs on here. One plug goes to the switch and the other goes to the standard harness, which you get on both types. Now this part of the harness plugs it into the unit, and this part interrupts the signal from the lambda sensor, or O2 sensor if you want to call it that. So you simply unplug the connectors, and you've got a male and female connector that plug in there. It's as simple as that. There's no modifying of wiring at all. And if you want to put it back to standard, you simply unplug it at this connector, these 2 connectors here, and plug your O2 sensor back in, and that'll take the bike straight away back to standard again. You also get some stickers, a key ring, some cable ties, and again you've got another QR code there just in case you haven't got the other one. So it's a pretty good comprehensive kit. You don't need anything else other than this and a few basic hand tools. It's the other thing I like about it. It's all good quality, original equipment, automotive connectors with really good flexible anti-wear cover on them as well. So they're really belt and braces. These things aren't going to fail. So if you're not into the QR code, we can send you a link to take you to the site. I'll show you now how to do it. So basically just put your camera on, scan the QR code, and it should come up with the website address. You click on the website address and it'll take you to Powertronics page, and what you want is instruction manuals. So click on instruction manuals and you want a Fuel X manual, and then come down to Royal Enfield. Now this one's a Meteor 350, so you just click on. Now I've already got it downloaded on here, but you would normally click download, but I'll just open it with Drive. And there it gives you comprehensive pictures all the way through of how to install it. So now we've got it all unpacked, we'll start fitting it onto the bike. So the first thing you need to do is take your key out and remove the side panel. In case you haven't done it before, you just simply turn the key to the right and pull quite hard on the rear and the front as it's held on with these 2 pegs here. Next thing we need to do is remove the seat. If you've got a grab rail, and you might need to remove that first. To remove the rear seat, you need to undo these 2 bolts, and then we have 2 bolts underneath the back of the rider's seat. I'll do that now. Next we need to remove this nut and bolt at the rear of the tank with an 8mm and 10mm spanner. And once you have the bolt removed, just lift the rear of the tank up. And what I like to do is just slip a soft cloth underneath to keep it raised up, just so it's easier to get in under the tank. So next, if you look under the tank on the left hand side, you'll see the fuel pipe going up to the fuel pump, and also just in front of that you'll find there's an electrical connector with a tab on the outside of the tank that you squeeze, and pull the connector off. So that's all the electrical connections onto the fuel tank. Now on the fuel pipe, if you feel to the sides of it, you'll feel there's a square connector on either, a square panel on either side of the connector. And if you squeeze those, just gently pull, it'll come off. Now be careful, because you will get a small amount of fuel out of there, so don't do it where there's any naked flame or anything. And now if I slide the tank slightly to the rear and lift it up, you will see that there's two pipes underneath the tank. We just need to pull those off. You can't really get them mixed up because they're two different sizes. You simply lift the tank away. Now I like to put it down on some soft cloths so it doesn't get damaged or chipped underneath. So if you follow the wiring from your O2 sensor, you'll see that it comes up under the tank here to this connector just above the exhaust pipe. So you need to squeeze the clip on that and pull it apart. You now use the two male and female connectors on the wiring harness with the 3 plugs on to connect to the male and female on this connector. And that connector there can hook back up on the frame on its little hanging port, and you can just route the wire down the right hand side of the bike to underneath the right hand side panel here. Next, if you unravel and unclip the FuelX handlebar switch, place it on the bars somewhere where you can easily get to it, but where you're not going to catch it with your hands or anything when you're riding. And using the 2 screws and the clip provided, mount it to the bars. You'll need a 2.5mm Allen key, which is not provided to do this. You don't need to go crazy tightening these up. These are just small screws. Just tight enough so it doesn't rotate on the bars. Oops. So now if you route the switch connector, I like to run it along the route of the main wiring harness. It keeps it out of trouble. Back to under the side panel, and we have our 2 connectors here now. Now you need to connect these 2 connectors to the unit. Now if you look, one's 4-pin and one's 6-pin, so you simply can't go wrong with these. And just push them in, make sure they click in. And that's it. Now if you race FuelX here to just push the unit in underneath there, out the way, and you just need to clip these wires up with the cable ties provided. You have plenty length on this, so you will need to coil it up a little bit. But get these all clipped up neatly under the side panel, and it's literally just a matter of refitting the tank, refitting the seat, refitting the side panels, all in reverse order. I'll go ahead and do that now, and we'll show you how it operates. So that's it all installed there. So when you have everything back together, simply turn it on, and you'll see that the FuelX warning light will blink, just to let you know that the system's up and running. When you start with it, if you select up there, it'll flash a number of times that tells you what map it's on there, and then you'll get a long flash at the end to tell you that map's locked in. And if you want to come down, just do the same again, it will come down one. It's really quite simple to use. If you press it too many times, sometimes it sort of locks itself out. If that's the case, it probably thinks you've just caught it with your hand or something. Just dab it twice and then it'll come back on again. That's that's on map 7 there, and then you've got a long flash, and that's map 7 locked in. So you can have a play around and see if you're the sort of person who likes to fiddle around with things, and you should be able to feel the difference as you go up and down the maps. And if you want to go back to completely standard, just take it back down to map number 3. So I hope that's answered all your questions. One thing I didn't mention is that this, just like the booster plug, will not give you more power. It is not a power enhancing device. So you don't have any problems with the insurance company or anything like that. You haven't upped the power on the bike. We've measured them on dynos, and you can't see any appreciable difference with and without either these or booster plugs. They don't make any appreciable difference to the bike. What it does do is make the bike feel completely different when you ride it. It's just much smoother, cleaner, and it's because it runs cooler. What I found on this one particular, the bike felt very knocky. Like I was using a grid of petrol that was too wrong, it wasn't good enough for it, and that completely disappeared when I ran the Fuel X. So it runs that much smoother that you can tell that much feel on it. So if you do have any questions, you can email us on our info page on our website. Obviously keep the questions sensible. I think I've covered most of the things here. It isn't going to make your bike into a rocket ship or anything like that. It's just going to make it run safe if you've wanted to change the exhaust or whatever, which is what most people are looking for. And it does make it run cooler and nicer, which a lot of people have had problems with the bikes not running nice. Basically, they're just too lean for an air-cooled signal. But thanks for watching. Like I say, if you have any questions, just fire us an email. Thanks a lot now. Bye.